Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Cheat Code Jiu-Jitsu. Jeff White here again. So we're moving on into a new deep dive series today. We're going to start off with some things from the Kesa Gatame position, also known as the scarf hold. Wrestlers just know it as head and arm position. So it's a very underutilized position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. A lot of traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools either don't teach it or they teach it kind of wrong because it's used for a lot of street fight defense for just headlock stuff. But a lot of times they feel like they're giving up their back. I'm going to show you over the course of the next few videos that if you do it right, it's an incredibly effective position. You can hold it well. It's great for pinning your opponent, breaking them down, and there's also a lot of really cool and unorthodox submissions from here that because a lot of traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people don't teach the position, they don't go for those submissions and they don't even know they're there. So you can catch people with stuff that they don't even see coming, which are always the best submissions to see. So we'll start out this first video with just talking about some positional details on the Kesa Gatame position, so stay tuned. So the Kesa Gatame position is a side control position. As I said, this is very common in wrestling, and it's also extremely common in Judo. The reason it's used in those sports and not as much in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is because it's a really effective pin. Gets the guy's shoulders down on the mat, and it's hard for him to get up. There's no pins, at least not as a finish in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so it's not as favored. But if you use the position correctly, that action of pinning your opponent down can break their spirit, keep them from getting anything on you. It's really good, really effective. So one of the drawbacks to it is proper side control. I want to be in here with an underhook on the far side. It helps to keep him from sitting up. I can maintain this position better. If Tony has the underhook on me, it's much more difficult for me to flatten him out. He can sit up on me. He's got better options available. So that's where Kesa Gatame comes in. There is a version of Kesa Gatame that you can do with an underhook here. That's not what we're working on today. What we're working on here is I'm coming out from here, I'm going underneath of his head, lifting the head up, and what the position ultimately should look like is something like this. That should be the final position. Let me talk you through what we're doing and why we're doing it. Common counter for Tony is to bridge. Him bridging, coming into me, turning away can help him get out of this. So I'm going around, I'm wrapping underneath of his head, and I'm pulling his head up. This arm that's trapped inside, this is a critical key to making this position work. I've got to keep good control of this arm at all times. So I'm taking initially a grip on the tricep, and I'm pulling it up, and then I'm sliding my top leg underneath of it out to 12 o'clock. And then my hand that goes under the head, I'm wrapping that around and I'm grabbing a hold of that leg. This accomplishes a couple of things. One, it locks my leg in position underneath of his shoulder, which if you watch our next video, we're going to go over some escapes from this position. You'll see why that becomes important later, but I really need something underneath of that shoulder to hold it up. And then going around his head and then creating a pillow here for him, keeps his head elevated. That will shut down his bridge. It's much more difficult to bridge if your head is off the mat, okay? So I go here, legs planted at the side, legs planted in front, and then I grab here. Now here's the real key to making this position work. Notice where my hips are right now. They're on the ground. That is actually not where I want them to be. They're on the ground right now because I'm trying to be nice to Tony. It's not a real great position when I'm ready to go. But I'm gonna plant on this foot, and then I'm just gonna lift my hips just barely off of the mat. It's a very small movement. You don't go like this and push back really far, because if you do that, you're gonna get rolled. No good comes from there, okay? Right here, tuck the arm back, and then just lift up a little bit. That's all you need to do. So if you wanna see what kind of a profound difference this makes, Tony, why don't you say your ABCs?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
okay.
H.
All right, so now do it.
A, B, C, D, E, F.
Just that little change. So what's happening there is when I bring my hips up off the ground, all my body weight now is resting right here on the side of his chest. And so it's pushing down and collapsing his lungs and making it really difficult for him to breathe. That's why he was having so much difficulty getting all that out, okay? So another thing that you need to pay attention to here is my leg position. I've got a 9 o'clock leg and I've got a 12 o'clock leg. I've got these for good reasons. This is useful in wrestling because in wrestling, you go to pin somebody and a lot of times guys will bridge and try to get off the mat. having a 12 o'clock leg shuts that down. But also, you'll see in the counters video, he wants to bridge me up and roll me. Keeping a foot up here towards his head keeps me from going down, okay? So I hold this position and then my head goes down, which again, you'll see why in the counters video, why that's important. But I'm gonna lock in here, head down, hips up, pull my body weight down in. Now, from this position, if you do it right, this is really difficult to escape from, and it's also incredibly uncomfortable for the guy on bottom. And so that's why it's so useful, is I can get into this position, I can hold on to it, I can wrench here for a little while, and I can just cook him and make him suffer. And the fact that he can't breathe in very easily means he's not getting oxygen to his muscles, he's gonna get really tired, and I can just cook him for a really long time, and works out well for me. So, most common entry for this position is just a side control thing. I lose control of the far side underhook. I feel like Tony's gonna be turning into me. I go around the head, under the shoulder, lift this up, shoot my leg out, grab the knee, and I just keep my hips up off the ground, slide my hips away from him, don't slide back. I'm just begging him to roll me at that point. But slide my hips away, keep control here, keep him locked in, and I've got a really good tight pinning position. So that's how I typically control Kesa. There is another theory that I've seen. There's actually a really good video Stefan Kesting posted lately from a lady who's a judoka champion, and she actually doesn't like grabbing on the inside of the leg. The reason being that if Tony goes to roll me, I can extract and I can put my hand out and post and then come back in. Whereas if I'm locked in here and he goes to roll me, I'm probably gonna go over because I have no post. I think that works a lot better with a gi on, because in a gi, I can control this arm by pulling up on the gi fabric and keeping him from rolling through. And so I can defend a little bit better with that arm out to post. No gi though, I really need everything to control this arm. So I really wanna be under here rather than this floating free. Frankly, if I have to break this arm out to post to block myself from being rolled, I'm probably not doing a great job of setting the position up correctly. So I'm an advocate for going around the head and around the leg, gripping on. If you prefer doing it the other way, especially if you got a gi on, then no problem, do it that way, but I think that way locks it in the best. So that'll be it for today. Come back next time, you'll see some escapes. And learning the escapes will not only help you get out of the position, but will also make you learn better how to control this position, because you'll understand better why we do those little mechanics that we do to hold the position. So if you like the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. You get a notification every time I upload a new video, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.